listening to Thriving Mindfully podcast with Ananda Leeke. Tune in and learn how you can be present, well, and the real you from the heart. Today I wanted to talk about grief and the many stages of grief. And the reason I'm sharing this is because in 2003, when my best friend and co-author Dino Moss made his transition, I was devastated. And it was the first time that I considered and actually went to a grief counselor. And it was a grief counseling program that was offered through the church I was attending, Unity of Washington, D.C. And through that connection that I made with the grief counselor and the conversations that we had and the resources that she turned me on to, I began to understand that the wave of emotions that I was having were all normal and natural. And it didn't take the grief away, but what it did was it let me know that the journey that I was on was something that most people experience. It let me know that death, loss, and grief is our universal experiences. And so now, it was 2003, it's 2024 now, 21 years later, I'm able to see and understand grief, loss, and death in a different way, in a deeper way. And certainly after my mother making her peaceful transition on July 9th of 2023, my understanding is growing. My experience with death loss is growing each and every day. It's messy. I can't control it. It's overwhelming. It leaves me angry, bitter, pissed off, sad, lost, and depressed at times. What I now know is that grief is a spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical response to loss. Grief is also an energy that lives in the body. Like I said before, it is something that happens to everybody. It's universal. And I want to underscore the fact that your grief is a unique journey. It's your journey. It's different for each person. And how you navigate it is different. It changes from day to day and moment to moment. You've got to figure out a way that works best for you on any given day. Grief is a process that has 7 stages that I learned about that are based on the work of the Swiss-American psychiatrist Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Now, Dr. Kubler-Ross developed the 5 stages of grief that she published in her book on death and dying in 1969. 2 additional stages were added years later to strengthen the model that she created. So, again, I want to remind you that these stages happen when they happen, not in any particular order. It's normal to move between them from hour to hour and even minute to minute. As I've said, and I'll continue to say, grief comes in waves. You may skip some of the stages in your own journey. So I just want to share what some of those stages are, and maybe 1 or 2 or all will resonate with you. The first stage, and it's not necessarily in this order that you'll experience them, is shock. Shock. That's when you're numb and detached from your feelings about the death, loss, and grief. Denial is the second stage. That's where you pretend that the loss or the change isn't happening. You may deny the loss. And in denying it, you may be giving yourself time to absorb the news and how you can begin to process it. The third stage is anger. That's where you may be angry at the person who died. You may be angry at yourself, a family member, medical professionals, or your higher power, your creator, if you refer to a creator. It's important that you deal with the anger because you don't want to hold it in. You don't want to glaze over it. You want to get support to deal with it. The fourth stage is bargaining. That's where you start to make deals with yourself or your higher self or your creator. You may review what has happened over and over again and ask what if questions. You may also say to your higher power, your creator, I'll do anything if you take away this pain. The fifth stage is depression. You may feel empty. You may feel intense sadness and deep longing that may lead to depression. You may not want to engage in daily activities or participate in activities that you enjoy. I want to encourage you to get help with the depression. I know I have. I've gone to a grief counselor, I've gone to a therapist, and I'm currently seeing a African American woman therapist to gain support. The sixth stage is acceptance and hope. That's where you begin to realize you cannot change what happened, but what you can do is choose how you respond. You realize that the loss and the grief that you're experiencing are a part of your new reality. It may not be a reality that you like, but that's the new reality. You begin to understand that life will not ever be the same, but it will continue. And that's a lot. That is a lot. The seventh stage is process. You process the grief. That's where the grief healing process takes time, and it varies from person to person. This is why it's so important to give yourself space and grace to let yourself do the grief the way that you need to do it. Handle it the way you need to handle it. I want to offer you 2 things that you can use in your grief healing process. First of all, be soft as fuck with yourself. What do I mean when I say be soft as fuck with yourself? Soft as fuck is an acronym. So the S is slow down. The O is offer yourself. The F is freedom. That freedom is self-nurturing or self-care that you have easy access to. The today is give yourself that freedom of self-nurturing and self-care in the present moment. That's the today, the present moment, the now. The AF, the as fuck, is by any means necessary. That's really just a call to action to say, do it now. Don't waste time. Give yourself the gift of being soft as fuck with yourself. I also want to encourage you to take what I call are the big 5 mindful self-care vitamins: loving kindness, compassion, non-judgment, patience, and forgiveness. Take those regularly. Take those regularly. You can give yourself a soft as fuck moment by breathing deeply, 3 to 5 deep breaths. Every time you breathe deeply, you are sending a message to your body to calm down. When you are able to calm your body down just some, that creates a pause, that creates space for you to choose what you need to do to nurture yourself next. Then I want to encourage you as you take the deep breaths to give yourself a hug, because see, with grief, you're creating stress in the body. Grief creates stress in the body. So when you hug yourself for 20 seconds or more, you're nurturing yourself. You're being soft as fuck with yourself, and you're also activating your self-nurturing or self-care superpowers of oxytocin, the love hormone, and serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and together they reduce the stress hormone of cortisol in your body. So a self-hug and some deep breathing are 2 ways that you can be soft with yourself in the present moment. And as you are offering yourself that softness with the deep breath and the hug, remind yourself Maybe have some affirmations or intention, a simple intention of, or an affirmation of, I practice loving kindness, compassion, non-judgment, patience, and forgiveness with myself regularly. You can repeat it. I practice loving kindness, compassion, non-judgment, patience, and forgiveness regularly for myself. Now, one of the things that has helped me is having my own definition of grief. And one day in meditation, months into my mom passing, my mother Teresa making her peaceful transition to ancestorhood, I got a divine download for grief as an acronym, and I wanted to share it with you. The G is go and grow through this hell of an experience. With R, resources. With the I, intention. To E, express emotions in the body temple. F, fully and freely. I'll do this again. Go and grow through this hell of an experience. Resourced with the intention to express emotions in the body temple fully and freely. So the G in the grief acronym is go and grow. It's go and grow through this hell of an experience. R, resourced with the I, intention. To E, express emotions in the body temple. F, fully and freely. So go and grow through this hell of an experience called grief, resourced with the intention to express emotions in the body temple fully and freely. I encourage you to come up with your own grief acronym if that resonates with you. When I remember that acronym, when it comes up, because I say it often, that is one of the ways that I remind myself to be soft as fuck with myself as I move through this hell of an experience of death, loss, and grief. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to offer to you today. Let me know how you're doing in your journey. If this podcast has been a blessing to you and you know others that may benefit from it, pass it on. And if you'd like to reach out to me, feel free to do so in the comments of wherever you find this podcast, or drop me a line at ananda@anandaleeke.com. Tune in for some Ananda commercials. Those are my commercials for what's coming up and how we might work together. I'll see you next time. May you and your loved ones have peace and ease and calm in your spirit, heart, mind, body, breath, and life. Bye. Are you struggling with death, loss, and grief, and or interested in exploring how to embrace thriving mindfully with death, loss, and grief in your life, your relationships, and in your career? If you've answered yes to these questions, I want to invite you to come to the Grief in You retreat. It is a 2-day nurturing experience, 90 minutes each day, that I am leading on April 13th and 21st, May 4th and 5th, June 29th and 30th, July 27th and 28th, August 24th and 25th, September 28th and 29th, October 26th and 27th, November 16th and 17th, and then finally December 14th and 15th in 2024 from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via Zoom. Now, you can go to anandaleeke.com/events to get more information. Remember, this is a 2-day retreat, 90 minutes each day. And I'm offering it each month from April until December of 2024. We had our first retreat in March of 2024, and I learned through that experience that this should be a 2-day retreat. So I will see you at the retreat. Bye. One of the best ways to develop your own understanding of human design is by getting a reading, by getting a coaching session. And so that's what I'm offering as your human design doula. Go to AnandaLeeke.com/human design to learn how we can work together. Thanks for tuning in to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. If you're ready to be inspired and empowered with my coaching support, join me in the Thriving Mindfully Academy. Visit AnandaLeeke.com/academy. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper and move past your comfort zone with my one-on-one coaching program, book a discovery call with me today. Visit AnandaLeeke.com. If you need something juicy to read, check out my 3 mindfulness books: Love's Troubadours, a self-love and yoga-inspired novel; That Which Awakens Me, a mindful creativity memoir; and Digital Sisterhood, a mindful technology memoir. Go to AnandaLeeke.com/books. All of my books are available on Amazon.com. Well, that about wraps us up. And as I always like to say, may we all continue to embrace thriving mindfully in everything that we think, feel, say, and do. See you next time.